This is how well critical thinking works when you take it into the public eye. You don't care. As long as it's got the woo background on it, this stuff sells. Hey, that's the fish that he was communicating with.
Yeah. Never mind, we won't go into that. Yeah, it's just one of those really interesting things that they can stand up there and, of course, they say, what kind of rock is this? When actually what he's pointed out, if you can get close enough to it, it's clods of dirt. It's compacted dirt. It's not even a rock. And yet this big doof can't look at it with his own two eyes and see that it's not. It's not a limestone. So it blows my mind how blatantly they'll lie. It's really easy.
Now, this was kind of the first nail in our coffin for being able to go up to the Stanley Hotel and do anything. But they were still nice and letting us in at this point. So we got called back in on an investigation where there was an author writing a book, the new Stanley Hotel Ghost Stories. So we get to go meet the paranormal group again. They always ask us, and it's the wrong thing to do. But what ends up happening is, while we were doing a lot of training there, we'd have people stop by and go, "You're the ghost guys?" "Yeah." They're like, "Well, I just took a picture. Can you explain it to me?" Or, "We just saw something down here. Can you explain it to us?" So rather than actually being able to do any work that night, we got to wander around and give tours and explain to people
What an orb is.
Yeah, what the reality behind these goofy pictures that they were taking were.
There's a lot of grassroots skepticism is what it was.
The hotel probably didn't like it because we weren't charging for tours, but I think it was really worthwhile. Well, while we were there, we went up to the room, like he said, on the first episode of Ghost Hunters that they went there. They had this huge, heavy oak table that just jumped in front of one of the investigators.
Now, a couple disclaimers. Now, we went over there they gave us pretty much the run of the place. So we went over there to look at that room as well. And we didn't have their original footage on us at the time. But we thought, hey, let's do a little reenactment. And let's see if we can show another perspective on how this table jump might have happened. That's us levitating the table right there. It's so heavy, you can see it's like 3 pounds of pressboard. So heavy oak table, it's not. And that is the table. That is the very table. Now, the funny thing is, we're not here to say we've debunked it. This is absolute proof that what they say isn't real. We're just going to do another. Well, we are, but that's not really what we're saying. What we're doing is giving you a different perspective. We're giving you an opportunity to make up your own mind on what you think happened. So we're going to show you that little reenactment spliced with their footage. So you can see we didn't have the same camera angles and stuff like that because we didn't have their footage to compare it to at the time. We were just kind of going off of memory. But here we go.
No light in the room, and we're just hanging out there.
What the fetch? What happened? Wow, the whole table and chair just moved. Who's in here with us? All I can think.
This table's so heavy.
So like he was just here.
You guys see that? Okay, let's pause it for a second.
I'll pause it and we can bring down the light.
Yeah, so we can bring down the lights a little bit more. That's all right.
We got it. Across the room. He gets paid the big bucks for this, people.
Hopefully we'll bring the lights down, you'll be able to see it. So yeah, but you got to see, the table moves a little bit, Grant screams, "What the fetch?" And then they're all, "Oh, who's in here with us?" It's really great research and investigation techniques. So remember that the next time you guys are investigating anything, scream like a child and make huge assumptions.
Okay, here we go.
No light in the room, and we're just hanging out there.
What the fetch? What happened? Wow, the whole table and chair just moved. Who's in
That was amazing.
The table danced almost completely out of the little cover.
Yeah, almost bounced out of the room.
This is just crazy paranormal happening. So. Oh my God.
That's much better acting.
That is so scary.
Hi, Brett. Yes?
Yes.
Hi, Brett. Okay.
Oh, with the fetch?
That's awesome.
The Plum Creek Shoe Station.
Nice.
With the JJ? Oh, well, I mean, let's chalk it up as a ghost. As a paranormal. How'd you ever some it's about
Well, we made a few discoveries with this video.
Let's just chalk it up as a ghost.
Yeah, first, the research that they do is impeccable. There's no question about it. You go in, you claim it's a ghost, then you go get your chocolate and popcorn balls. Well, we spliced this little piece of footage together, and like any good peer-reviewed item, we put it on YouTube. And we actually made a huge discovery. When you take a video like this and you put it onto YouTube, the guy that owns the company, that owns the Stanley Hotel, he calls you. It's like magic. And he says, you're going to take that video down now. And we tell him, no, we're not. Because we're trying to tell people the truth. Give them another opinion. And he said flat out, if you do not remove that video now, you are never allowed to step foot back in the Stanley Hotel again. To which we said, okay. Well, the fun part about this, I'll let Baxter take it from here.
Well, it was a few weeks later. We get a call from the Stanley Hotel. Obviously, their internal communication is not so good. But they called us up there because they wanted us to take over doing some of their ghost talks, their paranormal talks, their tours, and they wanted to see, if such a reputable group as Rocky Mountain Paranormal would like to come up and do some of that. So we said, absolutely, we'll come up, and they treated us to dinner, and they wined us and dined us and treated us like rock stars, and we're like, oh, it's so wonderful. Before we sign any paperwork, though, we thank you so much, Stanley Hotel, but you might want to call the head office and let them know who you called to do this. We never heard back from them after that.
Well, we did, though.
Well, yeah, we did. We did hear from them again.
Yeah, about almost a year later.
It was in October.
It was in October last year. We're always featured on the Peter Boyle's Halloween radio show. If you haven't heard of him, you haven't listened to Denver radio. Well, he always does his broadcast from a haunted location every year. And we've been the guests on the show for, 8 years running now? And they were considering the Stanley Hotel. So the Stanley Hotel was really excited. That's a huge promotional tool for them. And they said, who's going to be doing it? They said Rocky Mountain Paranormal. They said, we don't care. We want the advertising ability. So we jumped in the middle of it and went, we don't want to go to the Stanley Hotel. So the Stanley Hotel kind of lost the bid. We'd rather go stay in an abandoned mansion than anything else. So we ended up doing that. But it just goes to show you how the money is really the bottom line. They don't care about the history. They don't care about the truth. They just care about who's going to spend between 20 and 50 bucks a head to go on a ghost tour.
Now, how many of you have actually watched the end of Ghost Hunters? They put up the little tiny disclaimer screen at the end with a really small print and read what that says. Do you happen to remember how they classified the show?
No, it's entertainment.
Well, entertainment, yes, but it's called a docu-soap. That means that it is scripted. The entire show is scripted. So the fact that they make that in really tiny print, I think is really misleading because they really portray it as this is reality. That's what all these ghost shows do. This is reality. But in the little disclaimers, except for Paranormal State. Paranormal State, the most ridiculous of them, says we're real.
Extreme Paranormal's got them hands.
Well, Extreme Paranormal's pretty stupid too. Now, on a side note,
I don't have a clip, or I'd show you. I know where he's going.
yeah, usually we'd have a clip for this. Does anybody have an idea of what the best paranormal show we've seen has been? The most honest paranormal show.
Download.
Yeah, you can answer. Yes.
Your own?
We're hoping.
If we have one,
We're hoping. No, this one was simply called Hot Chicks in Scary Places. And it was the most ridiculous thing ever, but it was completely honest. It was this creepy old guy trying to play like he was Jigsaw from Saw, that only communicated with these girls through a TV screen. And he was basically just trying to get them to do some sort of cheer in this abandoned hospital to raise the ghosts or something.
Exactly.
It was absurd.
It was a bunch of Southern California college cheerleaders that they've gotten for this. But it was honest. They knew that they didn't have a clue what they were doing. It felt like a movie. It was so stupid.
And that's been the most realistic one we've seen so far. So we've got plenty of time, and we want to let you guys know that you can ask us questions about anything. It doesn't have to pertain to this talk in particular. We know that a lot of times when you get a paranormal group up there, people have a lot of questions. What are you doing at a Skepticamp, for one?
We ask ourselves that. This is the
Every time we do
fifth
it.
time we're asking ourselves that question.
But so we are completely open for questions. Thank you very much. Yes.
Where can you send or make that study available with the soil samples?
Yes.
If you go to our website at RockyMountainParanormal.com, click on Investigations, click on Stanley Hotel, you can download that plus a huge history. Something we really seem to pride ourselves in is being able to pull up the histories on these locations because most people don't. And I'm almost ashamed to say we give them away for free because we have just the most complete history of a ton of locations. Not just there, we have places like Cheeseman Park, the old Children's Hospital.
Crow Patterson Mansion.
That's not officially up yet.
It will be up soon.
It will be up soon.
The Brook Forest Inn up in Evergreen, which is an interesting one. We know more about that place than anyone alive right now. In fact, as the people that used to work there, when they would be practically on their deathbed, they would call us to relay their memories of the place. And we don't know how we ended up with this sort of reputation for this kind of stuff, but we've got some amazing historical archives.
So yeah, while the ghost stuff is fun, the being able to let people know the truth behind what a lot of this is and just go in and learn history. That's really been one of our big pushes.
Okay. I know that a lot of these stories that float around get influenced by popular culture. So I guess as far as the Stanley Hotel goes, how much of the stories floating around would you say came straight out of The Shining?
This is kind of a threefold. The Stanley Hotel does have, I'll say 3 or 4 of its own ghost stories. The Shining, not necessarily really any influence on the ghost stories. On the interests of ghosts at the hotel, I mean, you'll always hear the, let's look for the creepy twins or that sort of a thing. Now, yeah, exactly. Now, the one thing that they don't let anybody know is back when the first ghost book was being written about the Stanley Hotel, the author realized that there just wasn't enough ghost stories to make a book. Well, there's a place on the west end of town called the Elkhorn Lodge. The Elkhorn has a lot of ghost stories, had a lot of ghost stories. It was up for sale at the time, So the author called the current owner and said, "Can I borrow your ghost stories? You're not going to be using them anyway. You're selling the place." So they did. They acquired ghost stories from another building and have implemented them very well. Now, the problem is, since Ghost Hunters has gone in there and done a television show, we've all seen the bad paranormal research that's going on. I mean, we've all seen that on television. This breeds more and more really stupid, bad urban legend ghost stories. We have watched in 2 or 3 nights of staying there, new ghost stories start.
Well, that's the thing, is everybody watches these shows and they think, hey, I could be a ghost hunter too. So they run up there with their little recorder and their camera, they take a bunch of orb pictures, and they go, ooh, I felt something touch me. And they start creating all these stories. So I would say the majority of them are currently because of bad paranormal TV.
And just on a fun side note, the Frank's box that we were talking about earlier, if you take their ghost tour now, especially if it's one of their, I would say overnight, but their longer ghost tours, they have a version of the Frank's box now that they use on the tour. So you can go through and listen to the dead people talk to you via the broken radio.
Any other questions? Yes?
So you guys like debunked tax and all that. Do you guys believe in some of this stuff, or have you run into this situation?
Well, that's
Well,
a
define skeptic.
It's an interesting question, because people automatically think that we must have some sort of belief to want to do this. And the truth is, we actually don't have the luxury of any kind of belief. We try to take the literal definition of skeptic to its extreme and keep a completely open mind. Now, it is difficult